Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to be taking a deep dive today into personal finance. You guys sent over some excerpts from Money Talks, Financial Triumphs, Pitfalls, and Actionable Tips. And wow, these real-life stories are really both inspiring and a little bit of a wake-up call. We've got stories about amazing successes like Sarah, who went from struggling to make ends meet to a six-figure net worth in just 5 years. And she was working as a graphic designer the whole time. And then there's John, the tech entrepreneur who sold his startup for millions. But, well, let's just say things took an unexpected turn for him.
It's interesting how these stories show that financial success isn't always about some secret formula, but more about the choices we make every day. It's a mix of mindset and strategy and a bit of luck, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I was really drawn to Sarah's story because it shows that you don't need like a high-paying job or a trust fund to build wealth. Sarah started by tracking her expenses really meticulously, using an app called Money Map. You know, those budgeting apps that categorize everything. Well, it turns out she was spending way more on dining out and subscription services than she realized.
Yeah, that's a classic mistake a lot of us make. Those small recurring expenses can really add up without us even noticing. What's important is that Sarah took action. By cutting back in those areas, she was able to free up $500 a month. Think about that. $500 a month that was just slipping through the cracks.
Right, and here's the thing. She didn't just like stuff that money under her mattress. She started investing it, specifically in low-cost index funds, like the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund, VTSA, and the Fidelity Zero Total Market Index Fund, ILX. Now, for anyone who isn't familiar with index funds, an index fund is basically a basket of stocks. So you're instantly diversifying your investments across hundreds, even thousands of companies.
Exactly. Diversifying your investments like that really helps spread the risk. It's kind of like that old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But what I find really inspiring about Sarah is that she didn't stop there. She decided to leverage her graphic design skills to create digital templates and started selling them on Etsy as a side hustle. She even took a free online course on Etsy marketing to boost her visibility and sales.
Wow, and that side hustle really took off, right?
Yeah.
She was pulling in an extra $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people think side hustles are just for like gig workers
Mm.
or people trying to make ends meet. But Sarah's story shows that they can be such a powerful tool for building wealth, regardless of your income level.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the extra income. Side hustles can let you explore your passions, develop new skills, and even gain valuable experience that can benefit your primary career. But we can't forget that Sarah didn't just use this extra income to like splurge or anything. She used it strategically to pay off her student loan debt and max out her retirement contributions, which is something so many people overlook.
That's such a good point. It's not just about making money. It's about managing it wisely, right?
Yeah.
And setting yourself up for long-term financial security. Now, I'm curious, what resonates most with you about Sarah's story? Is it her disciplined approach to budgeting, her smart investment choices, or her entrepreneurial spirit? What parts of her journey could you see yourself applying in your own life?
It's really a remarkable transformation. It really highlights how even seemingly small steps, when you take them consistently over time,
Yeah.
can have a massive impact on your financial well-being. But now let's switch gears a little and look at a very different scenario. The story of John, the entrepreneur who sold his startup for millions. But then, well, things took a bit of a turn.
Yeah, John's story is a little bit of a cautionary tale, and it's really important we unpack it because it teaches us some valuable lessons about the psychology of wealth
Well,
and how important it is to have a solid financial plan.
precisely. John's experience really demonstrates how sudden wealth, without the right mindset and guidance, can be just as precarious as like financial scarcity.
Okay, so John, at 45 years old, sells his tech startup for $2 million. You'd think he'd be set for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like a lot of people who experience a sudden windfall, he fell into the trap of what's called lifestyle inflation.
Lifestyle inflation is definitely a real phenomenon. It's that tendency to increase your spending as your income rises. It's almost like our desires expand to match our newfound resources. For John, this meant buying a luxury car, a much bigger house than he needed, and flying first class everywhere.
And while it's certainly tempting to indulge in those things when you suddenly have the means to, John's story shows us that this kind of impulsive spending can quickly erode even a substantial amount of money.
What's interesting is that John's story really speaks to the behavioral side of finance, the psychology of money. Often when people come into sudden wealth, there's the sense of invincibility, a belief that the good times will last forever. And that can lead to poor decision-making, as it did with John.
He got caught up in all the hype of a new crypto project that was promising these astronomical returns. And unfortunately, it turned out to be a scam. Now, I know crypto is a really hot topic these days, and there are definitely legitimate projects out there. But it's also a space that's just ripe with scams and schemes, especially those that promise guaranteed returns or use really high-pressure tactics to get you to invest quickly. John unfortunately learns the hard way, losing the rest of his fortune in this crypto venture.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that even the savviest entrepreneurs can fall victim to these financial pitfalls, especially when emotions and a lack of financial literacy are involved.
So let's pause for a moment and reflect on John's story. Have you ever experienced, even on a smaller scale, that urge to upgrade your lifestyle after like a raise or a bonus? What are your thoughts on the psychology of sudden wealth and how important it is to have a plan for managing those unexpected windfalls?
John's experience is a really powerful reminder that financial well-being isn't just about how much money you make, but how you manage it, and the decisions you make along the way. It's about having a clear plan, understanding your own financial psychology, and seeking guidance when needed.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of guidance, it's important to remember that seeking advice from qualified financial advisors can be so valuable. A good advisor can help you create a personalized financial plan, navigate those complex investment options, and avoid those common pitfalls that can derail even the most promising financial journeys. But for now, let's kind of shift gears and see what we can learn from both Sarah and John's experiences. Their stories, even though they're very different, they offer some really practical advice that we can all apply in our own lives.
Absolutely. And one of the most fundamental takeaways, as we saw with Sarah, is the importance of tracking your spending. It might not sound all that glamorous, but understanding where your money is going is the foundation of sound financial management. And there are tons of great budgeting apps out there that can help you do this automatically, like the one Sarah was using, Money Map. Or you can go old school with a spreadsheet, or even just a simple notebook. The key is to find a method that works for you and stick with it.
I think so many people avoid budgeting because they think it's too restrictive or that it'll make them feel deprived. But it's actually quite the opposite. When you have a clear picture of your income and expenses, you can actually make more conscious choices about where you want your money to go. You might find you're spending more than you'd like on things that don't actually bring you that much joy. And you can then redirect those funds toward things that really matter to you.
Exactly. Budgeting isn't about deprivation. It's about empowerment. It's about taking control of your finances so that money becomes a tool to help you achieve your goals and live a life that aligns with your values. Speaking of empowerment, another key lesson we can get from these stories is the power of building multiple income streams, just like Sarah did with her Etsy shop.
Definitely. Side hustles aren't just for extra cash, right? They also give you a sense of security and flexibility, especially in today's ever-changing economy. I mean, think about it. If you suddenly lose your job or face unexpected expenses, having that extra income stream could be a real lifesaver.
And it's not just about financial security either. Side hustles can give you a chance to explore your passions, develop new skills, and even turn those interests into a full-time business, if that's what you want. It's all about creating options and diversifying your income sources, which is a smart strategy no matter what your financial situation is.
Right. And while Sarah's story highlights the benefits of earning more, John's story is a good reminder of the dangers of lifestyle inflation. Even if you see a sudden increase in income, it's crucial to resist that urge to immediately upgrade your lifestyle. I mean, it's tempting, right? You get a raise, you think, okay, now I can finally afford that fancy car.
Yeah.
Or now I can afford a bigger house.
It's a natural human tendency, yeah. But it's important to remember that true wealth isn't about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about living below your means, making conscious spending choices, and prioritizing your long-term financial goals over that instant gratification. It's like the marshmallow experiment, The kids who could delay gratification and wait for that second marshmallow, they ended up being more successful later in life.
Oh, that's an interesting analogy. So instead of immediately upgrading your lifestyle after a raise, think about investing that extra money or paying down any debt you might have or building up your emergency fund. These actions will set you up for much greater financial security and freedom in the long run.
Exactly. It's about playing the long game. And while managing your income and expenses is crucial, another piece of advice that I think is so essential these days is to continuously educate yourself about personal finance. There are so many resources available, books, podcasts, online courses, financial advisors. And the more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions and avoid costly mistakes.
I totally agree. Personal finance is a lifelong learning journey. Don't be afraid to ask questions, seek advice, and stay curious. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your money. But, speaking of learning from others, we love hearing from our listeners. And one story really caught my eye. It's about someone who managed to pay off $30,000 in credit card debt using something called the snowball method.
That's fantastic. Paying off any amount of debt, especially high-interest credit card debt, can feel so liberating. It frees up your cash flow, and it lets you focus on building wealth, rather than just digging yourself out of a hole. The snowball method, for those who haven't heard of it, is a debt repayment strategy where you focus on paying off your smallest debts first, regardless of the interest rate. It's a great way to build momentum and gain a sense of accomplishment, which can be really motivating when you're tackling a large debt.
And this listener specifically said that seeing those smaller debts disappear one by one gave him the confidence and encouragement to keep going, even when things got tough. It's a great reminder that financial progress isn't always about making those huge leaps. It's often about those small, consistent actions taken over time that lead to the really significant results.
What's also inspiring about this listener's story is that it highlights the emotional side of personal finance. It's not just about the numbers. It's about the feeling of freedom and peace of mind that comes with taking control of your finances and making progress towards your goals.
Absolutely. Paying off debt can be so empowering, and it often has a ripple effect on other areas of your life. It can boost your confidence, reduce stress, and even improve your relationships. So let's take a moment to celebrate this listener's achievement. And just acknowledge that financial wins come in all shapes and sizes. It's not always about becoming a millionaire. It's about making progress and building a life that feels financially secure and aligned with your values.
I couldn't agree more. It's about finding what works for you and taking those steps, no matter how small they are, towards a brighter financial future.
Yeah. And on that note, let's wrap up this deep dive by going over some of the key takeaways from our conversation today. We've heard inspiring stories of financial success, cautionary tales of missteps, and practical advice that we can all use in our own lives.
We've seen how powerful disciplined budgeting can be, and investing wisely, and building multiple income streams, and resisting lifestyle inflation. We've also talked about how important it is to be continuously learning and to seek guidance when needed. We talked about the psychology of money and the emotional side of financial decisions, and the importance of celebrating even the smallest wins along the way.
But ultimately, it all boils down to this: taking ownership of your financial well-being
Right.
and making choices that align with your goals and values. Every financial decision you make, whether it's tracking your spending, starting a side hustle, or investing for the future, all of it shapes your financial trajectory.
Yeah, it's like building a house, right? You need that solid foundation and a well-thought-out plan to create something that will last.
I like that analogy. And just like building a house, there might be those unexpected challenges that pop up. But if you've got the right knowledge and support, you can navigate those obstacles and eventually create the financial future you want. And that brings us to the most important question. What's your next step? What really stood out to you from what we talked about today? Was it Sarah's dedication to budgeting and investing? Or maybe John's story and how he had to learn about lifestyle inflation the hard way? Or was it that inspiring story from our listener who paid off all that credit card debt using the snowball method?
Maybe you've been thinking about finally starting a side hustle, but just haven't actually done it yet. Or maybe you've been meaning to create a budget, but keep putting it off. Whatever it is, just remember that even those small actions can lead to big results over time.
Yeah, pick just one thing, one step that you can take today to move closer to your financial goals. It could be something as simple as downloading a budgeting app, or maybe do a little research into side hustle ideas, or even just calling up a financial advisor and having a chat with them.
You don't have to do everything all at once. The important thing is to start somewhere, to build momentum, to keep learning, and to keep growing.
This has been such a great deep dive into the world of personal finance, a mix of inspiration and cautionary tales and advice that you can actually use. And we hope that you're walking away feeling empowered, feeling motivated, and a little bit wiser about the choices that you have, the choices that you can make to shape your financial future.
We believe in you. Remember, financial well-being is a journey, not a destination. There are going to be ups and downs, but with the right mindset, a commitment to learning, and a willingness to adapt, you can achieve your financial goals and create a life of abundance and security.
And don't forget, we're always here to support you on your journey. So feel free to share your own financial wins, challenges, questions, anything. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making those smart money